Hello, it's Leslie here. Today I would like to talk about how we can learn from other people's mistakes. So I will tell you four kind of separate anecdotes, if you like, the people that I've met or know that haven't got very far in their language learning for various reasons. So I think we can learn from these people's mistakes and anyway, so the first one, I guess, would be my father. Now, when he's not with us anymore, but uh, we used to live in a suburb called Hurstville, and there was a large Chinese immigrant population there, and he was into sort of Chinese medicine. So one day he kind of thought, oh, I'll learn a few Chinese phrases and things. So he learnt the word for good morning, which in Cantonese is Jo Sun. Jo Sun, good morning in Cantonese. So anyway, he went, I think he was on the way to work or something, he went on the train and he saw this older lady with a young boy. And so he went up to her. I think he was sitting opposite on the train, and he said to her, "Yo, son," and she said, "No, my grandson." So, and basically, he told us this story that, instead of saying good morning like Joel's son back, she's thought has asked, "Is that your son?" And she's replied, "No, it's my grandson." So the thing is, he never learnt any more Chinese phrases after that. So he kind of laughed it off, but he never actually took his Chinese language learning any further. Now, he may not have been interested in learning Chinese, but I'm just saying to you that we don't know. She could have been from mainland China and not Hong Kong, and she could have been a Mandarin language speaker and not understood Joseon, because they're two separate Chinese languages. Now, the other thing is he could have then said, oh, well, no, what I actually wanted to say was Joel's son, like good morning, and communicated, because this is what languages is all about, communication. So he didn't actually say, by the way, I was actually trying to speak to you in Chinese. So that's the first thing. I'll say that don't be put off by the first thing. I think that it's very important to have the right pronunciation and accent, and you get further. Some people, it seems, when you speak to them, I even see it now. I left a message on WhatsApp to this older Russian lady, and she couldn't seem to understand what I was actually saying, even though I think my pronunciation is not so bad. So some people just aren't used to hearing foreign speakers. So what I'm saying is, work on your pronunciation. Uh, and if it doesn't work the first time, don't be discouraged. Even say, well, actually, I wanted to say this. Try with someone else. Practice the pronunciation. So that's one of the things that I was going to say about that. I think that's all I had to say about that particular thing. Yeah, I'll carry on to the next one. If so my sister, the next one is my sister. She always wanted to learn Japanese at high school and found that very hard when it got to the kanji. Now I understand that's very difficult, but later on she had a Greek boyfriend and she wanted to learn Greek. So uh, it was a kind of half-assed approach. So she got given, I think, or she got hold of some um, Greek. I think at the time they were tapes. They weren't even CDs. I think they were tapes, and she didn't get very far with this one course. So it was basically doomed to failure from the very beginning, because you can't really learn a language. You can't do it. You can't learn a language just one with using one resource. It doesn't work that way. You have to have like a whole range of learning materials, books, audio, YouTube. It might be Duolingo, although I'm not a Duolingo fan. Now's as good a time as it's ever been. Right now is the best time to start learning a language. It wasn't so good maybe 20 years ago is what I'm saying. But don't just rely on one thing. So with my sister, I know it was doomed to fail. It was just dead in the water. It was never going to work with learning Greek from one audio course. So that's the next thing. The next person I met, an older lady who wants to learn Danish. So I was chatting to this lady who wants to learn Danish. And she hasn't got very far. And I said, well, how many words do you know in Danish? And she said to me, well, about 15 or 20 words. And I'm thinking, gee, that's not very many. I was thinking she might know 100 words. Now, her problem seems to be, now I didn't actually tell her this, but if I ever become a language coach and people pay me, I'll be saying it to them. But the thing is, her problem seems to be that she's waiting to move to Denmark before starting her Danish studies. So she wants to do it properly. She wants to do a course in Danish taught by a native Danish speaker, which is fine, that's all fine, except she doesn't know when she's going to move to Denmark. So, in my opinion, this lady is wasting an incredible amount of time, months and months and months and months. She's procrastinating by not starting today. And she's probably thinking, well, I don't want to spoil the course, or she might even have this romantic idea that her partner might teach her her future partner might teach her some Danish or something like that. But I think it's better to start as soon as possible. Don't wait for your course to begin. Don't wait to move to the country. I think there are a lot of resources available now on the internet, on YouTube, wherever. I'm sure there are online courses you could do in Danish, taught by a native Danish speaker. So she's probably thinking, well, I want to be taught in a classroom environment and everything, or I don't want to go in there already knowing so much and then be bored. But it doesn't really work that way. It would then be, if you had your own study first and then did an official or like a course later on, it would be revision at most, and revision is a good thing. Anyway, there's nothing stopping people from starting to like look up words and things. I couldn't believe it when she told me she's adamant that she's going to learn Danish, and I believe it, but the trouble is she's wasting a lot of time, and the main thing you need with languages is kind of persistence and time. So if she doesn't do it for a year, that's a year she's lost. She could have been a year into her studies, and then instead of starting maybe even a beginner course in Danish, done an intermediate or even advanced beginner. So it's a bit frustrating to hear that people don't start. So what I'm saying is, if you're interested in Russian, because this channel's mostly about Russian and Finnish, if you're interested in Russian and maybe you want to study Russian at university or move to Russia, don't wait till your university course begins before you start looking up words. Don't wait until you move to Russia before starting to look up words in Russian or wherever, or the grammar. Don't wait until you move to Finland to start, because then you're just losing. It's not so much wasting time. Well, you are wasting time, but it's losing time. And you could be training your brain in the meantime and setting up good study habits. I think the best thing, that if you see language learners like myself, the best thing I think that we have, the best skill is try to make it a daily study habit. And it doesn't have to be like 3 hours. It could be just you could start with 5 minutes, then work up to be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Anyway, I kind of know where these people are coming from, but they might be a bit old-fashioned and think, oh, I'll do it properly, I'll do it the thing. But then you can at least you can double up. You can do your own thing, or you could look up the words that are important to you. I have a curiosity about some words. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, that I like knowing what certain words are. Like, for example, snail. Snail. The word snail. The mollusk snail. That's different in every language, and I always find it surprising what that is. Or another one might be dragonfly. I'm really curious about what the word dragonfly is in other languages. Or crane, the bird crane. Stork, crane or stork. These are things, and I think there's a few more that I'm always curious about these particular animals, what they're called in these other languages. Now, if you do a course, they're not going to teach you maybe all of the words. You're not going to get a vocabulary of like 5,000 words, even if you do a course. So start looking up words now, today. Don't put things off. You're just wasting time. That's what I try to do. I try to do things every day without fail, at least one of my languages. When I say without fail, now I do have some days off. If I'm really not feeling like it, or if it feels miserable, if I've got a headache or something, or I'm too tired, then I have a day off. But then I always make sure to resume it the next day or the day after. And I usually do, because it's kind of a habit now anyway. And I think if you do it the right way and you try to make it fun, then you're more likely to stick to your program. Like, that's why I do it with series and television, because it's fun. It's more fun. Even though I always pause the video, rewind it now, because I'm not watching it with anyone else. I pause it, rewind it, sometimes up to 5 times before I know what they're saying. So it can be a bit tedious. Now, you may prefer to just watch the whole thing through without pausing it, and then get the words or whatever the next time around. But anyway, I try to make it fun with this visual approach of mine, and then I'm more likely to resume it again tomorrow. And the reason why I say start with even 5 minutes, because if you start with 5 minutes, that's something that's very easy to commit to, and then it becomes a bit more 10 minutes and 15 minutes. And some days, if you're enjoying yourself, you might study for 1 or 2 hours. You don't always have to study 2 hours. And if you commit to 5 minutes, you can always then do more if you feel like it. Now, I will say, I'm getting a bit off track here because I wanted to talk about the 4 people that I said, but I mentioned it, so I might as well say it here. Lately, I don't always watch an entire episode in a language. If I'm watching a series, I don't always watch the entire mosquito. I don't always watch the entire series. Say if it's 1 hour or 40, usually they're 40 minutes, 1 hour. Sometimes I might only watch half, 20 minutes, or if I see a scene in it and it's got new people in it and it looks like it's changing with, say it might be a detective show and it's changing, I think, you know what, I've seen enough now. I don't feel like watching anymore. I'm not enjoying it as much anymore. My mind's wandering, so I stop it and come back to it the next day. And that's like one of the great things we have with streaming video now. We can stop it at any time we want and resume it whenever we want, wherever. When I was young, and growing up, there was just free to air television, and I had literally three channels on the TV, and you had to watch things there and then every week for your series. And if you missed it, tough luck, you missed it. So What I'm saying is, I don't always watch the entire season series. Sometimes though, I'm having fun, and then I watch two episodes in a row. Um, but what I'm trying to say is, if I'm not enjoying it, I just stop, because I think, well, if you're not enjoying it and you keep not enjoying it and it's too hard, then you're less likely to come back tomorrow. So I went off track there, didn't I? So start now, today, and that most of you probably are anyway already starting, but it just seems to be that some people are waiting for something, waiting for the perfect moment or waiting for the perfect course. Don't wait. It happened to me because I wanted to study Russian in Sydney at do a course like at Sydney Uni. They do other courses, not a degree or anything, but just a short course. You know. But the trouble is, I moved 5 hours away from Sydney, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I literally had to to do it my own way. So if you're planning on studying in the future and enrolled in a course, don't wait till the course begins. Just start now. Just start. It's the same as if you were wanting to do a music degree. Would you wait until the degree begins before you start practicing with your instrument? You would start, if you were really keen on learning music or learning how to play, you would start before the course begins. You know. Uh, anyway, so that's my advice there. So that's that thing. And lastly, I'll come to my mum. My mother is another person. She decided, oh, I'd like to learn French. I've always been curious about French things. So she started with Duolingo. And she kind of got hooked on Duolingo, but too much. And she was doing this same thing, and it was becoming very boring and repetitive for her. And I said, because she did the tree multiple times. And I don't think Duolingo is that good, really. I think I would, if it was me, I would one tree and then just get off it as soon as you can and start watching other things, start doing other things, because Duolingo, you'll be stuck. You won't progress, and so that was half the trouble. She'd never progressed beyond Duolingo. While I'm on the subject, I would say don't try to learn like 10 languages or 20 languages at once on Duolingo. Like a lot of people have this massive long list of flags next to their name or whatever. Don't do that. You won't get the depth of every language. I I kind of have a grasp of 5 languages, four plus English, and I made an effort to stick with one language for 2 years, 2 years without really looking at the others. So I suggest do one language at a time. Focus on one language. Don't get all distracted and start learning 20 languages at once on Duolingo. You won't get. It'll just be like a dog's breakfast. So this will also help you determine what language or languages, what ones are the most important to you for you to learn. You know, I'm not that interested in learning 20 languages anyway. I'm only interested in the 4 or maybe 5, and that's about it. I don't ever plan on really learning 20. It's just not going to happen. I'd rather learn the 4 well than. Anyway. So, anyway, my mother never really progressed beyond Duolingo, never really looked up the French words on the Google Translate app. You know, she did watch some series in French, because I said to her, Mum, you need to start watching things in French, so you can actually enjoy French culture. A bit. So yeah. Although I think she took it in too passively, like not really stopping and looking up words. And then before too long, anyway, she just resorted back to reverted back to watching her English series. So she, after about 6 months, I don't know, a couple of months of watching French stuff, she got a bit tired. She got too fussy with what French things she was watching. Oh, I don't want to watch that one. Oh, I don't want to watch that one. You can't afford to be quite too. Maybe with French, because there's 100 things in French, 100 series. But with other things, say for example Finnish, you can't really afford to be that fussy about what to watch. Just you know, watch the as many as you can in the language. Now, here's the other thing. I'll tell you a secret. You're not going to learn Russian by watching just one season. You know, I've probably watched half of the series that I put up here in Russian. Like, I don't know how many it is. At least 20 series that I've watched. So don't be too fussy with what you watch. Just watch it anyway. Although, if you're not going to enjoy it, if you wouldn't watch it in English, maybe probably don't watch it in the foreign language anyway. If you're not going to enjoy it, why would you kind of bother? I don't enjoy reality TV like Big Brother. I would not watch Big Brother in any other language, for example. I just wouldn't. I'm not really interested in that. So she then reverted back to watching English, the default whatever was on Netflix, not looking up. I think half the trouble was she couldn't find the French series to watch, or I would have to say, here's another one, here's one, or it might have been too difficult to do because some might have been on Prime Video and some might have been on SBS, and then she'd have to get the laptop involved and all this. It was just too hard box. Don't do that. You see, I try to adapt. If there's not a series, what happened to me was Netflix. There was only ever like 5 things on Netflix, and Netflix never reviewed any of the Russian series. So I thought, well, screw you, I'm going elsewhere. And I don't even have a Netflix account anymore. They deleted it. They kind of said, well, you haven't signed in for whatever number of months, 18 months, and I don't even have an account to go back to anymore, so they can stuff off. I don't like Netflix anymore. So I'm mainly paying for Stan now because they seem to have more foreign stuff. I also go to SBS all the time, sometimes to Channel 4, although that annoys me, Channel 4. And I look at where all these things are, and I might sign up for 1 month over at Prime Video. The last one was Acorn. I watched something in Finnish that was only on Acorn TV, and I paid just for 1 month. So I go out of my way to find these series. I don't just turn on the television and watch the first thing that comes on. I go out of my way to find these series. Now, it's not that easy, especially to Finnish, because there's not that many around. There might only be 8 or 10 at any one time on all the platforms. And so that's when I don't know about you, but I then go back to another language. Like, then I'll just pause my Finnish for a while and learn then Russian or Italian and go and do the other things. And then by the time I've done those series, there might be more Finnish content available. I worry about that later. So, I think that's the thing with a lot of people. They just go back to their old habits of watching English television wherever, or it might not even be television. It just might be not persevering with it long enough to see any progression in your ability. So I just stick with it. Now, think of it. It's, learning a language is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon, because you think of marathon. What is a marathon? A marathon is, I don't know, 4 hours or whatever it is, or 2 hours, 4 hours of run. In Russian, it's like 800 hours or 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours. So it's more than a marathon. And you, you could study it months and months and months, and you're not going to see much improvement. So you only see improvement after, like, literally, well, years. I still turn on the television, and I did it the other day. I turn on YouTube, started watching something in Russian. This is after maybe I don't know exactly when I started learning Russian. Maybe it was 2016. 8 years learning Russian. I turned this news thing on, and I couldn't really follow it. I was like, well, you know, but those are, they happen to be talking about words that I don't know yet. So I try not to get too discouraged, and, the words that I do know, I do understand. So it's a slow process, and I think a lot of people, they give up too soon. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep at it, like, for years on end, and then you'll reach the upper intermediate, whatever, or advanced. So I refuse to quit. I go out of my way all the time to find these things. I don't even watch English television anymore. Hardly. I don't even watch it anymore. That's the other thing that I think, if you're planning on learning a language seriously, there's some part of English, or your native language, you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to give up a little pie piece. You're going to have to give up a part of your your main original language, and devote that then to the new language, and keep it that way. Like, it's almost like, I was going to say killing a part of your thing. No, I don't think that's... Anyway, so, yeah, those are the things. People give up too soon. They get discouraged. They don't try anymore. They don't start too soon. So, I hope this has been some sort of a help for you. These are just some of my tips that because I've been doing this for 5 years, and I can tell you it's very slow. It is hard. I try to make it easy by doing a little each day, and then eventually you will see an improvement, but only if you keep at it. So I think that's all I was going to say. Is that maybe I three? Did I talk about 3 people or 4? I talked about my father, my sister, this other lady, and my mum. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. Good luck with your approach. Thank you. Bye.